Hello students, a very warm welcome to CBC classes. I am Dr. Vaishnavi going to discuss about worksheet 4. So let us discuss worksheet 4 questions. Here, we are going to primarily discuss about botany questions, then we are going to discuss zoology CBC questions. So question number 1. Choose the correct one with respect to the earliest for the scientific basis of classification. So we have discussed about classification in our earlier classes. Now, according to that, there are different types of classification: 2-kingdom classification, 3-kingdom classification, 4 and 5-kingdom classification, right? The 5-kingdom classification was given by R.H. Whittaker and 2-kingdom classification was given by Linnaeus. Right? Now let us see the question again. Choose the correct one with respect to the earliest for scientific basis of classification. Okay, so here the scientific basis of classification was done by Aristotle. Okay, it was proposed by Aristotle, and the plants were divided into trees, shrubs, herbs. Basically the classification was on the basis of two types: plants and animals. Plants which cannot move and animals which can move. Right? And the plants were further classified on the basis of trees, shrubs and herbs, but that is morphological characteristic features. Coming to the third point, animals were classified into two groups. Okay, those who had red blood cells, which means they had blood in them, and animals which doesn't have blood. Okay, so vertebrates, he called the vertebrates have red blood cells, which means they have blood. Okay, whereas non-vertebrates, okay, don't have blood, RBCs. So that is how he classified, earlier classification. So, and the fourth option is all of these. So as I have discussed, the earliest classification was done by Aristotle. Okay, he divided animals and plants into two categories, that plants and animals, on the basis of locomotion, right? The plants cannot move and animals can move. And plants were further divided into trees, shrubs and herbs according to the size or according to the nature of the plants. And animals, they have red blood cells and without red blood cells. Red blood cells were vertebrates and red blood cells animals were non-vertebrates. And the fourth option is all of this. So what is your answer over here? Yes, it is correct. The answer is going to be all of this. So this is the correct concept over here. Okay, all of this is the correct answer. Now moving to the next question. Linnaeus' system of classification did not deal with. So Linnaeus has classified organisms majorly broadly similar to the Aristotle, like plants and animals. He haven't classified unicellular organism or multicellular organism. Unicellular organism, which means the organism which is made up of one cell. And what about multicellular organism? The organism which is made up of multiple cells, multiple levels are present, like tissue, organ or organ system is present. Now coming to eukaryotic and prokaryotic nature of the cell, as we have discussed in earlier classes also, the prokaryotic organism is the primitive organism which is basically unicellular, and it has cell membrane, cell wall, but nuclear membrane is not present. So the nuclear content is present within the cytoplasm, which is called as nucleolus, right? That is what present in prokaryotes, whereas eukaryotes, it's the advanced cell which have developed, well-developed nucleus, nuclear membrane is present, and what else are present? Organelles, proper organelles like chloroplast, mitochondria, endoplasmic reticulum, all the organelles are present in the eukaryotic organisms. So Linnaeus haven't considered eukaryotic or prokaryotic nature of the cell, unicellular or multicellular organism, or he hasn't considered the nutrition, that is photosynthesis is present or absent. Okay, so all of this again is going to be the correct answer. Okay, so he haven't taken all these points. Basically these points are covered in R.H. Whittaker classification, that is 5-kingdom classification, where you can clearly see Monera, Protista, fungi, plantae, animae, right? So Monera were prokaryotic unicellular organism, Protista which were eukaryotic unicellular organism, and fungi which is eukaryotic, and multicellular, can be unicellular also sometimes, and non-photosynthetic, whereas plantae which is photosynthetic, eukaryotic and multicellular, and animae which is multicellular, eukaryotic and heterotropic mode of nutrition, right? So this was considered in RH-Whittaker classification, but these points are not included in linear system of classification. So here our answer is going to be all of these. Now coming to the next part of the question, third question. Again, RH-Whittaker classification is based upon. So as I have told you, this RH-Whittaker classification is very important. Why? Because it is most approved classification. They have taken most important characteristic features, cell nature, the characteristics of the cell has been taken, the nutrition has been taken, mode of nutrition has been taken into the point, okay? So all these points have been taken, like body organization, cell structure, mode of nutrition, reproduction, all these points are connected in the RH-Whittaker classification, okay? Cell structure, the structure of the cell, whether it is primitive cell, prokaryotic cell, or advanced cell, which is also called as eukaryotic cell. Body organization, whether it is a unicellular organism or multicellular organism. The multicellular organism consists of cells, tissues, organs, organ systems, right? Now mode of nutrition, whether it's autotrophic mode of nutrition or heterotropic mode of nutrition. On reproduction, asexual mode of reproduction or sexual modes of reproduction, these are the points that are considered in RH-Whittaker classification. And what about phylogenetic relationship? Phylogenetic relationship, which means evolutionary, how they have originated, how they have evolved, okay? All this past history of this organism, all these points are considered in RH-Whittaker classification. So here again our answer is going to be all of these. So what RH-Whittaker has classified organism into 5 kingdoms. Whittaker classification consists of Monera, Protista, Plantae, fungi and animali. All these are 5 kingdoms, first 2, 3, 4, okay? These are based on these characteristic features, cell structure, body organization, mode of nutrition, and reproduction is the 4th characteristic feature, and phylogenetic, evolutionary relationship. Okay, all these 5 characteristic features are taken in consideration for 5 kingdom classification. So answer is going to be all of these. Now going to the next question, question number 4. 5 kingdom classification was proposed by, just now we have learned, and that is proposed by RH-Whittaker, and this RH-Whittaker classification is given in 1969. Okay, so RH-Whittaker proposed 5 kingdom classification in 1969. Okay, now going to the next question. How many of the following are prokaryotes? So prokaryotes, if you see, Monera is the only one which consists of prokaryotes. Monera is the only kingdom, first kingdom, where it consists of prokaryotes, and they are basically unicellular organism, which means they have only one cells. They are not made up of multiple cells. No, my complexity of body is very simple. They are prokaryotes and they are unicellular organisms. Okay, so the Monera consists of basically bacteria, blue-green algae, that is cyanobacteria, archaebacteria, methanogens, all, okay, come under Monera. Okay, so this Monera consists of bacteria, yes, 1. Mosses, fern, fungi, pteridophytes are not under Monera. Okay, mosses are under bryophytes, okay, ferns under pteridophytes, fungi, so it's a complete kingdom, pteridophytes. Now blue-green algae, which is again a member, cyanobacteria, it is also called as cyanobacteria, blue-green algae, they are single unicellular organism, prokaryotes. Okay, so again this is a Monera. And gymnosperm and angiosperms are again divisions of, yes, plant kingdom. Okay, so here they are classified under how many of the following are Prokaryotes, which means bacteria and blue-green algae are the one. So here only 2 organisms. If you see, option 1 consists of only 1 organism, option 2 consists of 2 organism, option 3, 3 organism, or 4, more than 4. So here your answer is going to be option 2, 2 organisms. Now coming to the next question, fungi have cell wall composed of. The cell wall of the plant consists of cellulose, whereas the cell wall of the fungi consists of chitin, okay? And what about cell wall of the bacteria? It consists of polysaccharides, okay? NAG and NAC, right? So here the fungi consist of chitin. So here the answer is going to be chitin answer, okay? Now the cell wall of the fungi consists of chitin. Now moving to the next question, question number 7th. How many kingdoms from RH Whittaker system have exclusively autotrophic mode of nutrition? Exclusively, which means they only perform photosynthesis, they don't perform any other kind of nutrition. It can be photosynthesis, it can be chemosynthesis. Autotrophic mode of nutrition consists of 2 types, right? Autotrophic may consist of 2 types, that is photosynthesis or chemosynthesis, right? And exclusively, which means all the plants should be, majoritively all the plants or all organisms should perform photosynthesis or chemosynthesis, autotrophic mode of nutrition, right? So here if you see Monera is not exclusively autotrophic, although some organisms of Monera perform photosynthesis, not all, some, like cyanobacteria or blue-green algae you can also call as, okay? Photosynthesis, some organisms or photosynthesis, they perform, yes, photosynthesis, not exclusive, so we are not going to consider Monera. Now again Protista, some organisms of the Protista also perform photosynthesis, so not exclusive characteristic features. Like if you see Euglena also, it can be, yeah, heterotrophic mode of nutrition, and it can perform phototrophic mode of nutrition also. Fungi which is heterotrophic, okay, which are saprophytes, which grow on dead and decaying matter, and most of them are this, and they can be parasitic also. Animali, they are heterotrophs. Now coming to plants, in which majority of organisms are autotrophic, which means they perform photosynthesis or chemosynthesis. So answer over here is going to be, yes, 1. Only one kingdom, plant kingdom, performs photosynthesis. So here the answer is going to be 1, which is second option. Now coming to the next question. Unicellular eukaryotes are characterized into unicellular eukaryotes. Monera consists of unicellular prokaryotes. Monera and Protista consist of unicellular organisms. Okay? So Monera also consists of unicellular organisms, and Protista also consists of unicellular organism. This unicellular organism is generally prokaryotic, which means the nucleus, primitive nucleus. Pro which means primitive, and karyotic which means primitive nucleus, whereas this is eukaryotic, which means they have advanced nucleus, like the nucleus consists of proper nuclear membrane. Okay, so DNA and RNA are enclosed properly in the nuclear membrane. So what is your answer over here? The answer is going to be Protista. Monera, although it is unicellular, but it is not eukaryotic, it is a prokaryotic structure. So answer is going to be second. Okay, now we are going to the next part. How many kingdoms, according to the 5-kingdom classification and linear system of classification, are dedicated to prokaryotic exclusively? Again the word exclusively, which means in 5-kingdom classification only 1, which means Monera. Monera is the only one which is prokaryotic exclusively. Similarly, Linnaeus system of classification, he classified simply plants and animals. He haven't taken consideration of prokaryotic cellular nature. So here our answer is going to be only one. Both in 5 kingdom classification only one Monera is considered, whereas in Linnaeus system it is not considered. So we will go with the appropriate option, that is second. Now going to the next question, question number 10. Monera cell wall is composed of. Monera is made up of prokaryotic cell, which is made up of polysaccharides. Which type of polysaccharides? Non-cellulosic polysaccharides and amino acids. Okay, so the answer is going to be amino acids and non-cellulosic polysaccharides. It is just not made up of polysaccharides, it is made up of amino acids too. Okay, the cell wall of Monera, which means prokaryotes, are made up of amino acids and non-cellulosic polysaccharides. Now coming to the next question, question number 1 of classwork. Whitaker 5 kingdom classification does not include. So this question is for you students. So try to attempt. I am going to give a couple of seconds for you. Whitaker 5 kingdom classification does not include. It only included fungi, protozoans, it included bacteria, it included plants and animals, but it haven't included different other types of organisms like viruses. Viruses are generally non-living elements when they don't live in the host. As soon as they are getting into the host, what happens? They become living by controlling the host mechanism. So viruses, he didn't know where to classify viruses. Similarly, viroids and prions are different patterns of the viruses which only consisted of either protein codes or only DNA. Okay, so only DNA or RNA components are present. Viroids and prions, only protein codes are present. These were also not placed in 5 kingdom classification. This is again a disadvantage of 5 kingdom classification. Now coming back to lichens, if you see, lichens have 2 components, the fungal component and the bacteria or plant component or algal component, right? Phycobians and mycobians, 2 components, phycobians and mycobians. So these 2 components are a result of symbiotic relationship. So lichens were also not classified in the 5 kingdom classification. So here the answer is yes, all of these. You are correct if you have marked this answer, all of this. It is not only excluding viruses, it is excluding viroids, prions and lichens too. Okay, so answer over here is going to be all of these. Now coming back to the next question, question number 2. The ratio of domains and kingdom in Wu's classification is, the domains that he have considered, 3 domains he have considered, archaea, bacteria and probacteria, right? So here the domains that he have taken is 3 domains. Okay, and for each domain he had added different types of kingdoms, right? Now going to the next question. Chlorella, Chlamydomonas, amoeba, paramecium are kept under which kingdom by Whitaker? So we have total 5 kingdoms, Monera, Protista, and if you see fungi, animali and plantae, right? All these 5 kingdoms are present. Now each kingdom has different characteristic feature. If you see, the bacteria or cyanobacteria, archaebacteria, methanogens were placed under Monera. Why? Because they are unicellular organism and they have prokaryotic cellular nature. By coming to Protista, if you see, Protista has eukaryotic cellular nature and they are unicellular organism, right? So here if you see, Chlorella is unicellular organism, prokaryotic cell, Chlamydomonas is eukaryotic organism with unicellular constitution. Now amoeba is also, and paramecium is also unicellular and eukaryotic. So all these are unicellular and eukaryotic, which means they are placed under Protista. So our answer is over here is going to be Protista. Now coming to the next question, question number 4. Earliest to attempt a scientific basis of classification is made by Linnaeus, Whitaker, Aristotle and Theophrastus. Okay, so earliest attempt of classification, scientific classification with proofs, that was done by Linnaeus. So here the answer is going to be the Linnaeus. Okay, now coming to, that is two kingdom classification, right? Now two kingdom classification was given by Linnaeus. Here if you see, the answer can be Aristotle. The earliest attempt in scientific basis of classification is based by Aristotle. Okay, now here in the next question, the two kingdom classification was done by Linnaeus. Okay, so Linnaeus is the one which classified the organism into two kingdoms. And what are these kingdoms? Kingdom Plantae and kingdom Animae, which cannot move, which can move. On the basis of locomotion, he has classified animals, all the organisms, into plants and animals, which have lot of disadvantages in this classification. Why? Because he hasn't considered, as I have told you earlier also, unicellular organism and multicellular organism. He haven't considered about body of organization. He haven't considered of cell structure. Okay, what is prokaryotic or eukaryotic. You haven't considered about reproduction, mode of nutrition. All these points were not considered in this two kingdom classification. Okay, now coming to the next question. This is for you students. Five kingdom system of classification is mainly based upon mode of nutrition or complexity of body organization, ecological role, or complexity of cell structure. So here the answer is going to be the mode of nutrition. Yes, mode of nutrition is the one which is the main criteria for five kingdom classification. So answer is going to be mode of nutrition. Okay, although all these are important aspects of five kingdom classification, but mode of nutrition, if you see, different kingdoms have different mode of nutrition. Monera can be autotrophic, can be parasitic, right? Whereas Protista also can be autotrophic and parasitic in nature. And coming back to fungi, which is strictly saprophytic in nutrition, and coming to Plantae, which is autotrophic mode of nutrition, and animals, which is again heterotrophic mode of nutrition, right? Now moving to the next question, question number 7. In Whittaker classification, archaebacteria and nitrogen fixing algae are placed under. If you see, archaebacteria is ancient bacteria, the first bacteria that is formed, which is very primitive, and the examples of archaebacteria are methanogens. Okay, they can tolerate high temperature, high pressure, okay, so, or high pH scales. So these are archaebacteria. Now coming to nitrogen fixer algae, which can perform photosynthesis, they can fix nitrogen. Okay, these are also called as blue-green algae or cyanobacteria, which are more developed as compared to the archaebacterial structures. But these two are placed by Whittaker in one kingdom, that is Monera. Monera, why? Because they both have prokaryotic cellular structures. That's the reason they are placed in the Monera. Okay, so here our answer is going to be Monera. So both archaebacteria and blue-green algae are placed under Monera. Okay, if you take examples over here, methanogens. Okay, different types of thermoacidophilus. These are the bacteria which can tolerate different types of temperatures or different harsh conditions of the environment. Now these were placed under Monera. So here the answer is going to be Monera. Now going to the next question, question number 8. In Whittaker 5 kingdom classifications, eukaryotes were assigned to. So if you see, they are assigned to all the 5 kingdoms, or 2 of the 5 kingdoms, or 4 of the 5 kingdoms, or only 1 of the 5 kingdoms. I'm going to give 2 seconds, couple of seconds. Yes, let me discuss this answer for you. If you see, there were 4 kingdoms. Let us write the kingdoms names. Monera, Protista, and Plantae, fungi, Animae. Now, Out of these 5 kingdoms, the first, second, third, fourth and fifth, Monera consists of prokaryotic organisms, whereas Protista, plantae, fungi and animali consist of eukaryotic cellular organization or body of organization, eukaryotic cellular nature, which means out of 5 kingdoms, 4 kingdoms had eukaryotic cellular structure and 1 kingdom have only prokaryotic structure. So your answer is going to be 4 out of 5. If they are asking about prokaryotic, then it will be 1. If they are asking about eukaryotic, it will be 4 out of 5 kingdoms. So coming to the next question, question number. So here we have discussed about worksheet 4. Okay. Now we are going to discuss worksheet 4 of CBC concept zoology questions. We have discussed about botany questions. Now we are going to discuss zoology questions about epithelial tissue. Okay. So types of epithelial tissue, junctions between epithelial tissue is all about worksheet 4. Okay. Now let us start with the questions. Question number 1. What is the similarity between cuboidal epithelium and columnar epithelium? Note that the classification of epithelium is based on 2, right? The epithelium has been classified according to the number of cell layer. If only single layer of cells are present, then it is called as simple epithelium, and when multiple, more than 2 layers or multiple layers of cells are present, layers of cells, okay, you can also call as more than 2. If it is single layer, then it is called as simple epithelium. Am I right? Simple epithelium. Now it is more than 2 layers of cells, then it is called as compound epithelium. Right? Now why I am telling you about simple epithelium and compound epithelium? The types of simple epithelium includes squamous epithelium, columnar epithelium, cuboidal and many other like ciliated, okay, glandular. And what about compound epithelium? Stratified and non-stratified, right? These are the types of compound epithelium. Now coming to the compound epithelium functions, what are the functions of the compound epithelium? They are generally for protection. So they are generally outermost layering like skin, okay, or where the protection is required from external forces, the compound epithelium is present. Now what is the role of simple epithelium? The simple epithelium are not involved in protection. They are involved in secretion and absorptions. If you see the columnar epithelium or cuboidal epithelium or squamous epithelium or ciliated epithelium, okay, they are generally for secretions and absorptions. Okay, that is the reason they also have glandular cells for secretion and absorption. They have cilia or microvilli. They have microvilli for absorption and cilia for the motion, locomotion, right? So if they have microvilli, then it is called as brush border. They are types of cuboidal or columnar epithelium. They are modified form of columnar or cuboidal epithelium, that is brush border columnar epithelium and brush border cuboidal epithelium. Similarly, ciliated columnar epithelium, ciliated cuboidal epithelium, glandular columnar epithelium and glandular cuboidal epithelium. So they are generally for secretion and absorption, and they are made up of single layer of cells. So I have explained your answer in this format. Now guess the answer from the options. They are composed of 2 layers of cell. No, they are made up of only single layer of cells. So this statement is wrong, right? They are composed of phagocytic cells. Phagocytic cells, the cells which engulf the foreign substances or food substances and break down these food substances by the help of lysosomes, and undigested food material is removed from the cell, right? Generally the phagocytic nature of the cell can be seen in WBCs, neutrophils, okay? So here this statement is wrong. This is not done by, yes, epithelial tissue. Phagocytic nature of the cell is not seen in epithelial tissue. It is generally for protection or secretion and absorption. Okay. So next, the third statement, they perform function, secretion and absorption. Just now I have explained these three cells are involved in secretion and absorption. If you see, squamous epithelium is present in the capillary lining, inner lining of the capillaries and inner lining of the alveoli, which helps in exchange of gases, diffusion of gases. So the role of squamous or columnar and cuboidal is generally for secretion, absorption, exchange of gases, major functions, right? So here this is going to be the correct answer, true. Now all of this is again the wrong option. So here is the similarity between cuboidal epithelium and columnar epithelium is they are made up of single layer, and the function of the columnar and cuboidal epithelium is secretion and absorption. So here the answer is going to be they perform the function of secretion and absorption. Now coming to the next question, question number 2. Identify tissue A and tissue B shown in the following diagram. So this is tissue A and tissue B. Tissue A is squamous epithelium, whereas tissue B, which are tall cells, they have tall cells. If you see, tissue A consists of pavement-like appearance or tiles-like appearance. If you see clearly from the top view, these cells appears to be like tiles, which have no intercellular spaces. So this is clearly epithelial tissue. Which type of epithelial tissue? Squamous epithelial tissue. Now these cells are having tall cells, which means they are, yes, columnar cells or columnar epithelium. So we have guessed the answer, we have discussed the answer, that is squamous epithelium. And now coming to this one, it is columnar epithelium. Let us find these options in the boxes A and B. A, squamous epithelium and columnar, the very first answer is going to be the correct answer, right? It is not cuboidal or squamous epithelium, it is not columnar epithelium and cuboidal epithelium, it is not compound epithelium and pseudostratified epithelium. Now coming to the next question, question number 3. Assertion and reason. Squamous epithelium helps in the diffusion of gases in the lungs. Just now we have discussed the lungs consist of alveoli. Okay. Now these alveoli are made up of single layer of cells, which are squamous epithelium. Okay, which are squamous epithelium, and this squamous epithelium, right, this alveoli is closely linked with the capillary. Okay. So these are capillaries, these are also made up of squamous epithelium with no intercellular spaces and no space between capillary and alveoli. What happens over here? Exchange of gases. Okay. So oxygen concentration will be more over here and carbon dioxide concentration will be more in the capillaries, right? So the oxygen will come into the blood capillaries, whereas carbon dioxide will move to the alveoli. So this exchange of or diffusion of gases is happening in lungs because of squamous epithelium. If the thickness of the alveoli cells or thickness of the capillary is more, the diffusion will be very slow, or sometimes diffusion will be completely absent. So that is not the purpose of the squamous epithelium, right? So the squamous epithelium are very thin cells which allow the diffusion of gases. That is the reason they are present in the lungs, in alveoli. So the assertion statement is true. Now coming to reason, squamous epithelium bears microvilli. So squamous epithelium doesn't bear microvilli or cilia or glandular structures. Okay, so this is a wrong answer, is a false statement. Whereas columnar epithelium or cuboidal epithelium may bear microvilli, then they are called as brush border, yes, ciliated epithelium or brush border cuboidal epithelium. So this statement is wrong and the assertion is true. So choose the right options. If you see the third option, assertion is true, reason is false. Simply you have to go with the third option. Assertion, that is squamous epithelium helps in exchange of gases in the lungs, and reason that squamous epithelium having bearing a microvilli is the wrong answer. You can tell that they are simple epithelial cells, okay, which allows the diffusion, which allows the exchange of gases. Now going to the next question, that is again an assertion reason question. You have to always read both the statements and mark it as true or false, and whether the reason is correctly explaining, whether the reason is the correct explanation of the assertion. That's how you are going to see. Okay, compound epithelium is composed of 2 or more layers of cells. There is a trick actually. You can write because also at the end of the assertion and link with the reason. Then you can connect the answers very easily. Compound epithelium is composed of 2 or more layers of cells. Yes, compound epithelium is made up of 2 or more cells, then that is true. That is the reason they are called as stratified or non-stratified epithelium, right? Now coming to reason, compound epithelium has protective function. Again, this is true statement. Okay, they are made up of 2 or more layers of cells. Because compound epithelium has a protective function again, so this is compound epithelium is composed of 2 or more layers of cells, because compound epithelium has protective function. Because they have protective function, they have 2 or more layers of cells. If only single layer of cells are present, it cannot tolerate the external stimuli or external forces or internal forces. It is basically protecting from the external environment or external forces, right? So these should be very thick. When it should be thick, what happens? The number of epithelial cells layer should be more, right? So here the both assertion and reason are correct, and reason it is the correct explanation. So answer we are going to with 1. Now going to the next question. Okay, the inner wall of large blood vessels are formed by. The inner wall of the large blood vessels are formed by pseudostratified ciliated epithelium, columnar epithelium or squamous epithelium. They are formed by squamous epithelium. So this is the blood vessel. If you see, this is a blood vessel. The blood vessels are formed by, inner cells are formed by squamous epithelium. They don't have secretory functions, they don't have absorptive functions, okay. So blood vessels doesn't have these kind of functions, so they are made up of squamous epithelial tissue. Now going to the next question. Question number 6. The inner surface of the hollow organs is lined by columnar epithelium, squamous epithelium, ciliated epithelium and compound epithelium. So hollow organs is lined by, if you see, what is your answer? Hollow organs is lined by, again you can go with squamous and compound epitheliums. Here some organs are lined with compound and some are lined with the squamous epithelium. Now question number 7. The efficient gases exchange in the air sacs of the lungs occurs due to the presence of, so as I have told you again in the previous question also we have discussed, the gaseous exchange is happening in the air sacs, which means alveoli, okay, is because of squamous epithelium, okay. So here the answer is going to be flat cells, that is squamous epithelium. Now coming to the next question, basement membrane is located. So the cells are formed on the basement membrane. Epithelial cells are formed on the basement membrane. So it can be cuboidal, it can be columnar cells, right? It can be flat cells like squamous cells. All these are formed on the basement membrane. So this is the basement membrane. Now below the basement membrane there is a connective tissue matrix. It is made up of different types of fibers, different types of cells, okay, like fibers like white fibers, yellow fibers are present, fibroblast mast cells are present, right, collagen forming cells are present. So this is connective tissue, this is epithelium tissue. In between, and we have in connective tissue they have blood supply, blood vessels, nerve supply. Because epithelial tissue doesn't have blood supply, nerve supply, this blood vessels are giving nutrition to the epithelial layer also. And in between they have basement membrane. So they are basically present between epithelium and connective tissue. So the answer is going to be the second one. Now going to the next question. Which epithelium has protective role in the skin? The stratified squamous, which means it is made up of more than 2 layers of cells. Now what is transitional? They don't have basement membrane, and stratified squamous have basement membrane. So if the basement membrane is present, then they are called as stratified squamous epithelium. Now coming to transitional, which means they don't have basement membrane, it is also non-stratified squamous epithelium, or you can say non-stratified epithelial tissue. So here this is going to be the answer. Why? Because this plays important role in protective role, whereas transition have more flexibility because of lacking of basement membrane. Okay, so the role of the stratified squamous is for protection. Now coming to the 10th question, the surface of epithelial facing the body cavity is apical surface. The apical surface is the one which is facing the body cavity. Okay, so if you see, this is basement membrane and this is columnar epithelial cells. So this is, if the body cavity is present over here, this is the apical surface of epithelium that is facing, right? Now coming to the next question, this is homework based questions, it is for you. The term squamous and cuboidal apply to the cells in tissue. So squamous and what we have there, we have cuboidal. They have shape, and both squamous and cuboidal are present in structure. It is because of shape. Okay, the flat cells are called as squamous cells, and the cuboidal shaped cells, if the cells are flat, okay, then they are called as squamous, and if the cells are cuboidal, cube structures, so squamous and cube shape. Squamous and cube shape, which means the shape is the correct answer, and the squamous and cube shapes are seen in epithelial tissue. So answer is going to be the 4th one. Now moving to the next question, this is for you students. 200 different cell types identified in humans, and they are classified into 4 types of tissues. What are these? So this answer, if you see, they are divided into epithelial tissue, protective tissue, secretory and absorption function, connective tissue, they are present, they are forming the most of the body tissue, and they are muscle tissue. So the epithelial and muscle are connected by connective tissue, and we have nerves that is making up the central nervous system and peripheral nervous system. So the tissue has been classified into 4 types: connective tissue, epithelial tissue, muscular tissue, and nerve. So answer is going to be, yes, you have guessed the answer correctly. Connective, muscular, epithelial, and nerve are the 4 types of tissue. Now if you see here, in some type of tissue, blood is also given. Blood, which means it comes under connective tissue only. It is specialized connective tissue. Okay. And what about supportive? Supportive is also come under connective tissue only. Okay. So answer is going to be the 3rd. Now see the picture over here and just label them. Here we already know these are flat cells. We have already discussed in the worksheet questions. In a homework question, it is going to be same, right? It is going to be squamous. Now if you see the picture of the B and C, these are tall cells and these are cube-like cells. So these are cuboidal and these are columnar. Now if you see the D picture, they are tall cells, again columnar, but they have extensions. If you see the picture clearly, they have extensions coming out from the inside. These are cilia, not villi. If villi, then it is going to be protoplasmic extensions from the protoplasm or the cytoplasm. Like this, it is going to be there. Here, hair-like projections are there. These are cilia, and this is brush border or microvilli. So answer is going to be first one, squamous. 2nd, cuboidal, 3rd is columnar, and 4th is ciliated. So here the answer is going to be the 2nd one. Okay. Now moving to the 4th question of worksheet homework, cell junctions. These junctions are present generally in epithelial tissue. They are present, not present in the any other type of tissue. Cell junctions are present in epithelial tissue. Yes, it is true. Provide structural and functional link between adjacent cells of the tissue. True. They are alternately called as gap junctions. Again, this is also true. So cell junctions are having gap junctions, tight junctions, desmosomes, adhere junctions, right? So both A, B, C, all the A, B, C are correct. So here the answer is going to be the first one. Now coming to the next question, match the following. We need to understand the functions of the cell junctions we have learned about. Synaptic junction is present between two nerves, that is axon endings and dendroid, beginning of the dendroids, or both axon endings, or it can be present in the axon ending and muscle. And what is the role of synaptic junction? The synaptic junction releases, they have space, okay, and they releases certain chemicals in the space between them, okay. These chemicals go to the dendrite and the impulse continues. So that is the role of synaptic junction. So let us go from this. Synaptic junction transmit information through chemicals to other cells is going to be the correct answer. Now coming to the gap junctions. Gap junctions, one cell and other cell have protein channels in between. Okay, they have protein channels. If the epithelial tissue have direct protein channels, what happens? The ions or the exchange of water or minerals can happen very easily. So this gap junctions is present, or it is a cytoplasmic channels to facilitate direct communication between adjacent cells. So this is the answer, gap junctions, fourth. So let us see, eighth, D1 is 2, D is 2 and C is fourth, right? C is, sorry, fourth. Now adhering junction has cement, yes, they have a cement sheet like structure between them, okay. If you see the junction, it has cement like structures, cement sheet like structures which is present, and actins are coming from this cell to that, okay, which is very close to each other. So here the adhering junction consists of cement like structure. And now tight junctions, we are left with the third option, establish a barrier to prevent leakage of fluid. They are very close to each other and they prevent the leakage of the cells. So here the option is going to be, yes, the first one is, yes, third, and 1, 4, 2 is the correct answer over here. Now coming to the next question, question number 6. The function of the gap junction is to, gap junctions stop the substance from leaking across the tissue, yes. Perform cementing to keep neighboring cells together, facilitate communication between adjoining cells by connecting the cytoplasm for rapid transfer of ions, small molecules or some large molecules. This is the correct answer. If you see, they had protein channels, okay, which connected the adjacent cell together, right? So that these adjacent cells can contact each other through exchange of ions. So these are gap junctions. So answer is going to be third one. Now going to the next question, question number 7. The cell junctions called tight, adhering gap junctions are found mainly in, these are mainly found in epithelial tissue. Tight junctions, adhere junctions, gap junctions are found in epithelial tissue, whereas synaptic junction is found in nervous tissue or nervous or muscular tissue joining, okay. Now going to the next question, question number 8. All the cells of the epithelium are held together with little intercellular material, okay. So here we have to tell which of the following is false, okay. In almost all animal tissue, specialized junction provides both structural and functional links between its individual cells. Tight junctions helps to stop substances from leaking across the tissue, okay, and adhering junctions provides cementing to keep neighboring cells together. Gap junctions provide cytoplasm channels between cells of the passage of ions molecules. So all the statements are correct, right? So there is no false statement about cell junctions. We have learned about these functions in earlier questions also. So answer is going to be none of these. Now coming to the next question, question number 9. A tissue is composed of similar cells which perform specific function. A tissue is composed of similar cells which perform specific function. So what is it? It is true or false? Yes, it is true. Okay. A tissue is made up of same type of cells which perform similar functions. Now coming to organ is made up of different types of tissue but performs a single function, same function or specific function. Okay. Now the statement A is true. Now let us see about B. Okay. Epithelial tissue are characterized by free surface towards body fluids after, yes, this is again true statement, this is also true statement. So both A and B are true statements. Why? Because epithelial are generally present on the surface, either outside or inside. So both A and B are true. Now moving to the next question, question number 10th. So this is again for you. What is the similarity between cuboidal epithelium and columnar epithelium? We have learnt in the very first questions of this worksheet that epithelial tissue like columnar and cuboidal are made up of single layer of cells, and they don't have phagocytic function. They have either protective, secretory or absorptive nature. Okay, exchange of gases. So here the question has repeated itself. So here the answer is going to be they perform the function of secretion and absorption. Okay, so here we have discussed about the worksheet of CBC programs, fourth worksheet, and we have discussed both botany and zoology questions. Thank you so much. We have completed worksheet 4 over here, and in coming sessions we are going to learn many more interesting topics. Thank you so much.